Hello, friends. This is Keith Joseph from the Institute for Hermetic Studies Teacher Certification Program. Today, I want to talk about the Liturgy of Hermes. This is a practice from the Institute. There's also a teachable course in addition to this monograph. I wanted to discuss it, talk about some of its fruits, ways to get started, what you might expect, and why you might go about undertaking this practice. It's not an easy practice. You're doing it for 42 days. Ideally, it's a 42-day practice at least, and it's going to take about an hour of time a day, more or less. So one of the reasons I guess there's two big reasons I wanted to talk about this today. One, I'm doing the retreat myself. This is the second time I'm going through it, and it's been extremely beneficial to me, and I want to talk about that. And Mark has recently announced the preparation for an upcoming um, course from the Institute on the body of light. That, I think, is an amazing opportunity, something not really to be missed. And one of the recommendations that he had, prerequisite to the course to get the most out of it, would be to go through the Liturgy of Hermes. So I thought I could help you get started if you haven't done it already. So the fruit of the practice, I think there's two big things. One, you're going to establish a relationship with Thoth, Hermes, and that's a huge benefit because he is the patron god of the Western tradition, of the Western mystery traditions. Um, and so he is the Lord of Magic. You're going to be in relationship with him. You'll have a relationship with him. That's something that's worth establishing pretty early on in your practice and on the path of return. The other benefit that I've noticed is just a feeling of happiness, a feeling of bliss. It's contentment, not in the sense of not wanting to do anything, but really just a feeling of ease and happiness and joy in even doing mundane tasks, even going to work. Um, so that, I think, is a great blessing, and um, so it's very nice. I don't know that I can promise that that's a fruit of the path, but I think it is. And certainly having a relationship with Thoth is a fruit of the path. It's the practice, just as an overview. There's meditation and visualization. There's kind of confession, um, purification, and finally a realization of the oneness of you and the deity. So there is almost an assumption of the God form embedded in the practice, um, as well as establishing the relationship with the deity. So a really valuable practice. So let's think about what's going on. The first recommendation or first requirement is to have a clean space to work in. You're just going to be sitting. You're going to have an altar. Secondly, so that area is clean, and then Mark calls it inner cleanliness, meaning that you're keeping your word, you're doing what you say you're going to do, you're going to keep your promises, you're not going to hold grudges, you're going to forgive others when they wrong you. You're going to do your best to live um, purely and cleanly, just and that always makes spiritual practice a lot easier because it just takes care of some of the mundane karma um, that you can pick up by engaging in the world. The other thing is a little more arduous, is the recommendation for a vegetarian diet. I train hard. I like to lift weights. And if you're involved in that lifestyle, you know that the recommendation is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It's tricky to do on a vegetarian diet. It's tricky to do in general. So my recommendation is protein shakes, whey protein. It's not it's not vegan, but you're not being asked to do a vegan diet. You're just being asked to do a vegetarian diet. And in addition to whey protein, eggs. This is a half a quart of pasteurized egg whites. I'll drink this straight from the container. This carton has 50 grams. It's organic. It's my hope that they treat the animals well. You can get pasteurized egg whites, a full quart, for like $3, but the animals are not being treated well. I'll leave that up to you. But 50 grams of protein in here. I'll mix this with my oatmeal in the mornings to get some extra protein in there. I'll pour it into my protein shakes. I'll drink it straight from the carton. It has a kind of sweet taste. It's a little you may not like the consistency. It doesn't bother me. I make protein shakes also with a little bit of orange juice and a couple raw eggs, and I'll mix that together with a pinch of salt and some vanilla extract and maybe a teaspoon of maple syrup, protein powder. I got that from Vince Garanda. If you remember the Rocky movie, when Rocky's drinking raw eggs, he trained with Vince Garanda. Vince Garanda had a 36 raw egg a day diet, which he claimed was better than a cycle of steroids. You can check that out online if you're interested. So you can get your protein requirements if you're training hard on a vegetarian diet. Okay. You're to get an altar. I built my altar. I had to take down a ash tree in my yard, and I used that to construct the altar. That's not required. It's just my idea. But remember that the more energy you bring to the preparation, the more effective the result. Magic is just the manipulation of energy with symbols, using symbols to kind of give the energy form, right? Force and form. So the more you you go about preparing for the ritual with intention and energy, the more effective it's going to be, the more energy you're bringing to it. The ceremony, the theatricality of it, all of that brings energy to it. So an altar, and then on the altar you have a altar cloth, and you're instructed to draw this symbol on it. Now, I found it tricky. I like to draw. It's the orbis with there it is. The orbis with the hexagram. And some alchemical symbols, which it's worth meditating on. Astrological symbols worth thinking about. And I like to draw, but I found it difficult to do on the altar cloth. So what I did was I got a piece of canvas and I just placed it on top of the altar cloth, and I drew on that. Again, the more energy and effort you put into it, the better. I enjoyed that creative aspect of it, so hopefully you will as well. The altar then has some bowls, some small bowls. I got these are tea light candle holders. I got them at the thrift store. They're like 25 cents each. I got a bunch of them. And you put one with coins. I got a couple Mercury dimes that have Mercury on one side, the god, and they're silver. When the United States, before our currency was totally debased. So I put them. That's one bowl. Another bowl would be incense, some frankincense incense, like the teardrops. And another bowl would be semi-precious stones. I had some lapis lazuli that I used. So you have those and then in addition, a candle, fresh flowers. Um, I I get a small bouquet once a week for my wife, and I grab a few for my altar. Um, and then you have water, olive oil, and wine. First time I did the liturgy, I used these bowls for the water and the wine, and um, I had to kind of replace it a lot. So this time I got from the same thrift store. I just got these smaller um, glasses for the wine and the water and the oil. So um, there's your setup, and then on the altar you have either a picture of Hermes Thoth or a statue. At the Institute, we if you get anything from us, we often send you um, this little postcard size picture of um, Thoth. Uh, I've had frames for these. You can frame this. Again, the more you don't have to, the more energy you put into it, the better. You could draw it. You could print something out from the internet. I got this statue of uh, Toth that I really like. He's kind of jacked. It looks cool to me. Um, so that's what I use. So you have your that's your altar setup. Um, you want to begin the um liturgy ideally on a new moon. Um, there's even the summer, but getting it, I wouldn't let that stop you. Getting started is the most important thing in getting it going. But as soon as you start to prepare, you start to generate some momentum. The other thing that I thought I'd mention is so if you go on one of the benefits of the practice, one of the fruits of the practice is that you will develop a relationship with Thoth. And when I started, I remember asking Mark, I'm starting the practice. I'm reading a little bit, and I'm like, Hermes Trismegistus and Thoth and Hermes and Mercury, and what's going on? Is he a man? Is he a god? And Mark's response was just do the practice. Great advice. Really, really great advice here. Um, if you watch like some of these academic, they're like academic esotericists and stuff, they're often coming at this from a materialist mindset, even though they're interested in the esoteric. And so they're going to be kind of like deconstruction and debunking. In the history of the Catholic Church and I guess even the Lutheran sects, they had this thing called higher criticism or new criticism, where they started to use um, academic style research, historical research, and their intention maybe wasn't to debunk, but that's what they ended up doing, right? If you're a Catholic, you believe that the Bible is put together by the Holy Spirit, not by. It's not a historical book. It's not meant to be looked at that way. Um, but that's the way they look at it. And likewise, Thoth is not um a historical god. That's not the right. Historians aren't. It's not their. They can say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. We're not materialists. That said, there's some. You can check out some pretty cool books. One thing that I like. This one's old. This one's like it was published in 1908. It's a study of some aspects of the theological thought in ancient Egypt, and right at the beginning, it had. I don't know if you could see maybe over here. It's got all the hieroglyphics, different ways that Thoth's name was spelt with the hieroglyphics, see the ispis and stuff. It's awesome, totally cool. Um, Great stuff for the mind. It's also a good time to go back and check out the Corpus Hermeticum. There's this new translation of some of the Hermetic texts by Chuck Stein. All that stuff is great. Just more energy, the more you're filling your mind with the deity. The last suggestion I have is when you're doing the practice, you're sitting, you're with your altar, and the text has things you recite and visualizations. And so my, I'm older, my eyes aren't that great. You're doing the practice in candlelight, you have incense, so it's not, for me, I found it tedious to read. Now, I remember James Brown and I had talked about this, and he said he had memorized it. I think that's tremendous, because there's, if you can have it memorized, the visualizations kind of flow into the things that you're reciting out loud. They're in relationship to each other. Um, and that, I think, will let you get into much deeper states of meditation. But at the same time, I don't think that you should wait to have it memorized to get going. So what I did was I made these altar cards. This is not in the book. This is just my idea to make it easier for me to read. So I drew these. This is the cover that I drew. This is the symbol that you would put on your altar, right? And I just drew it again on here with some other symbols of thought. And then I just wrote out what was what is to be recited. Sometimes I drew on it. Sometimes I went back and drew on it later after I had written it out, but I just wrote it in a large hand. It made it easy for myself to read. And then I just got this stand. It's a little bamboo stand. And then I can flip through this while meditating. And I find that for me, this is a much easier way to maintain a meditative state um, while I'm reading. And over time you start to memorize it, and you can just use this as almost a mnemonic, and you're not reading it word for word. Those are the things I want to talk about. I hope that's helpful. I hope that you seriously consider the practice. It really is tremendous. I guess the only other thing to say is that, like I said at the beginning, it takes 45 minutes to an hour, pretty solid. Um, and so you just have to kind of organize your life a little bit to make time to do it every day, because once you're committed, you want to do it for 42 days. Um, so if you've done the practice, please leave a comment if you have any advice to others, questions, ideas. Would love to engage with you in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.